The text came at 2:17 a.m. Buzzing my phone like a hornet trapped in a jar. Want to make $200,000. Get your roommate to fall for you by spring. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, wondering if I'd stumbled into a prank or a crime. I'm Jamie Carter, a 22-year-old art major scraping by in a cramped Chicago apartment, where the radiator clanks like it's auditioning for a horror movie and the rent eats half my paycheck from the coffee shop. My roommate, Ethan Caldwell, is the human equivalent of a storm cloud 6 feet of muscle, sharp jawline, and a southern drawl that could charm a snake if he didn't spend most of his time scowling. He's also the guy who, on move-in day, saw my rainbow keychain and muttered, "Hope you don't bring that crap around here." Yeah, Ethan's not winning any ally awards. So why would someone bet me, a broke queer kid, to make him fall for me? The anonymous number offered no clues. Just a Venmo link with a $5. 000 good faith deposit already waiting. I should have deleted it, reported it, done anything but let the idea fester. But $200. 000. That was a one-way ticket out of student debt. A chance to breathe. Maybe even fund my dream of opening an art studio for kids in my neighborhood. I grew up in foster care, bouncing between houses where love was a rumor and acceptance was a myth. Money like that could rewrite my story. So, against every shred of common sense, I texted back, "Who are you? And why me?" No reply. Just silence and the weight of a decision I hadn't made yet. By morning, I was pacing our tiny living room, dodging Ethan's gym bag and the pile of dishes he always forgot to wash. He stomped in from his morning run, sweat-soaked and glaring like I'd personally offended him by existing. "You look like you saw a ghost," he said, grabbing a water bottle. His voice was all gravel and Georgia heat. And for a split second, I wondered what it'd sound like softened, saying my name without venom. "Bad night," I mumbled, avoiding his eyes. They were hazel, flecked with gold, and I hated how they made my stomach flip despite his attitude. I didn't like Ethan not like that. He was a walking red flag. The kind of guy who'd probably punch a wall if he knew I was even thinking about that text. But as he stood there, towel slung over his shoulder, I couldn't help noticing the way his shirt clung to his chest, or how his scowl softened when he thought no one was watching. Dangerous thoughts. Stupid thoughts. The next week was a blur of second-guessing. The money sat in my account, untouched, burning a hole in my conscience. I started small, testing the waters. I'd leave my sketchbook open on the coffee table, drawings of cityscapes and soft, abstract figures that could be anyone, maybe even him. Ethan never commented, but I caught him lingering over the pages once, his fingers brushing the paper like he was trying to decode something. I cooked dinner one night. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti with sauce from a jar, and left a plate for him. "Don't expect me to owe you," he grunted, but he ate every bite. I wasn't trying to seduce him. Not really. I told myself I was just being nice, thawing the ice between us. But every time he softened a half smile when I made a dumb joke. Thanks. When I grabbed his laundry by mistake, me heart did this stupid little dance. And the text loomed larger, a shadow I couldn't shake. Who was behind it? One of Ethan's frat buddies, messing with us both. Some rich creep with too much time. I checked the number online, ran it through every reverse lookup I could find, but it was a dead end. All I had was the money and a deadline, spring, for months away. By mid-October, things shifted. Ethan started sticking around more, not just crashing on the couch with his headphones blasting country music. He'd ask about my day, gruffly, like he was annoyed to care. One night, after a few beers, he sprawled across the couch and said, "You're not what I expected, Carter." His voice was low, almost gentle, and my pulse spiked. "What's that mean?" I asked, trying to keep it light. He just shrugged, eyes locked on mine for a beat too long before he turned away. I should have stopped there. Should have sent the money back. Told the mystery texter to screw off. But I was in too deep. Caught between guilt and something else, something that felt like hope. Hope that Ethan wasn't just the guy who sneered at my pride flag. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he was starting to see me. And that terrified me more than the bet ever could. One night, it all cracked open. I was sketching at the kitchen table, charcoal smudged on my fingers, when Ethan came home late, smelling like whiskey and rain. He didn't say anything, just stood in the doorway, watching me. "What's your deal, Jamie?" he finally asked, voice rough. "Why are you so nice to me?" I froze, pencil hovering over the page. The truth was a landmine, because someone's paying me to make you love me. Instead, I said, "Maybe I just think you're worth it." He laughed, sharp and bitter, but his eyes were soft, searching. "You don't know me." He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. "You don't know what I've done, what I think." His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw it pain, buried deep, the kind that makes you build walls. I wanted to ask, to dig, but my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I knew without looking it was another message from the stranger. "Keep going. He's cracking." I ignored it, heart hammering. "Then tell me," I said, standing to meet his gaze. "Tell me who you are, Ethan." For a moment, I thought he might. His hand twitched, like he wanted to reach out. But then he turned away, muttering, "Forget it." The door to his room slammed, and I was left with my sketch a half-finished portrait of him, all sharp lines and shadowed eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. The bet was a noose tightening around my neck. But it wasn't just about the money anymore. I was falling for him, falling for the guy who'd once called my existence a sin. And the worst part, I think he was falling too. Winter hit Chicago like a fist, blanketing the city in snow and silencing the streets. Ethan and I were trapped in a dance neither of us fully understood, circling closer with every shared glance, every accidental touch. The bet was a ghost haunting my every move. But his presence, his change was starting to feel like something real. He started opening up, piece by jagged piece. One night, over cheap pizza and flickering fluorescent lights, he told me about his hometown in Georgia, a place where church was law and deviation was exile. "My dad," he said, staring at the table. "He'd disown me if he knew I was even talking to you like this." His voice was raw, like he was confessing a crime. I wanted to reach for his hand, to tell him he wasn't alone. But the weight of the bet stopped me. Every kind word felt like a lie. Every moment tainted by the cash sitting in my account. I doubled down instead, leaning into the little things. I'd play his favorite songs when he was around. Leave notes on the fridge about stupid stuff like milk running low. And once, when he was sick, I made him soup from a can and sat by his bed until he fell asleep. He didn't say much, but his eyes followed me, softer each time, like he was seeing me for the first time. "You're too good for this dump," he mumbled once, half asleep, and my heart clenched so hard I thought it might break. The texts kept coming, sporadic and cryptic. "He's warming up. Push harder. Don't lose focus." I hated them. Hated the faceless puppet master pulling my strings. But I couldn't stop. Not when Ethan started smiling more. Not when he began lingering in the kitchen while I cooked, asking about my art with a curiosity that felt like a gift. One evening, he grabbed my sketchbook and flipped through it, pausing on a drawing of two hands intertwined. "This you and someone?" he asked, voice tight. I shook my head, throat dry. "Just imagination." He nodded, but his fingers lingered on the page, and I wondered if he saw himself in those lines. By February, the tension was unbearable. We were watching some dumb action movie, sharing a blanket on the couch, when his knee brushed mine and stayed there. My pulse roared in my ears. "Jamie," he said, barely above a whisper, "why do you stick around? I was an ass to you." I swallowed, the truth clawing at my throat. "Because I'm being paid. Because I'm falling for you despite it." Instead, I said, "Because I see you. Ethan. The real you." He turned to me, eyes blazing with something I couldn't name: fear. Want. Maybe both. "You don't get it," he said, voice breaking. "I'm not. I can't be what you think I am." But he didn't move away. His hand found mine under the blanket, rough and trembling, and for one electric moment, I thought he might kiss me. Then his phone rang, shattering the spell. He pulled back, face shuttered, and answered it. I caught a name, Dad, and his voice went cold, mechanical. When he hung up, he wouldn't look at me. "I need air," he said, and left me sitting there, heart in pieces. The next day, I got another text: "You're close. $50,000 bonus if he kisses you by March." I wanted to scream, to throw my phone into Lake Michigan. This wasn't a game anymore. Ethan wasn't a mark. He was a person flawed, hurting, and maybe, just maybe, falling for me too. But the money was a chain, binding me to a choice I hated. I started digging harder for the texter's identity, hacking into old forums, even asking a friend at the coffee shop who knew tech. Nothing. Just a burner number and a bank account I couldn't trace. Then Ethan came home one night, drunk and shaking. "I saw you," he slurred, eyes wild. "On your phone. Always checking it. You're hiding something. Jamie." My stomach dropped. He was close. Too close. "It's nothing," I lied. But he stepped into my space, voice low and dangerous. "Don't lie to me. Not you." His breath was warm, his face inches from mine. And for a second, I thought he'd kiss me out of anger or desperation. Instead, he stumbled to his room, leaving me with a racing heart and a sinking realization I was in love with him, and it was going to ruin us both. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened, but the air was different, charged, fragile. He started avoiding me, skipping our usual routines, coming home late. I kept up the act, leaving sketches where he'd find them, cooking meals he barely touched. One night, I found him on the fire escape, staring at the city skyline. "I don't know what I'm doing," he said, not looking at me. "I don't know who I am anymore." I sat beside him, close enough to feel his warmth, but not touching. "You're Ethan," I said softly. "And that's enough." He turned to me, eyes wet, and for the first time, he didn't pull away. His hand brushed mine, deliberate this time, and my heart stopped. "I'm scared," he whispered. "Of what?" I asked, barely breathing. "Of wanting this," he said, and his fingers curled around mine, anchoring me to the moment. It wasn't a kiss, but it was closer than we'd ever been, and it felt like a promise. Spring came late, the Chicago air still sharp with winter's bite. Ethan and I were a tightrope, balancing between truth and something neither of us could name. The bet was a blade at my throat, but his touch is tentative. Electric touch was starting to feel like home. I couldn't keep lying. The texts were relentless now, taunting me with deadlines and bonuses. But every time Ethan looked at me with those unguarded hazel eyes, I wanted to burn the money and run. I started pulling away, hoping distance would clear my head. But Ethan noticed. "You're different," he said one morning, cornering me in the kitchen. "What's wrong?" His voice was soft, worried, and it broke something in me. I wanted to tell him everything: the bet, the money, the way I'd fallen for him despite it all. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I kissed him. It was impulsive, desperate, my hands cupping his face as I pressed my lips to his. He froze, then melted, kissing me back with a hunger that stole my breath. His hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer. And for one perfect moment, the world was just us two broken boys finding something whole. When we pulled apart, he was trembling, eyes wide with wonder and fear. "Jamie," he whispered, like my name was a prayer. "What are we doing?" I didn't have an answer. The bet screamed in my head, but his touch drowned it out. We fell into a rhythm after that. Stolen kisses in the dark, quiet moments where he'd rest his head on my shoulder and hum old country songs. He told me more about his father's rage, his mother's silence, the church that taught him to hate himself. "I thought I was wrong," he said one night, curled against me on the couch. "But this doesn't feel wrong." I held him tighter, guilt clawing at my chest. He was giving me his heart, and I was still hiding a secret that could shatter it. The final text came in March. Cold and final, deadlines up. Did he fall? Send proof. I stared at my phone. Ethan asleep beside me, his breath warm against my neck. Proof. A picture. A video. Something to show I'd won. But what had I won? Money that felt like blood. A love built on a lie. I deleted the message, but not before forwarding it to my tech friend, begging for a trace. Hours later, she called. It's a guy from Ethan's old frat. Rich kid. Runs a betting pool on campus. They've been watching you too. Rage burned through me. This wasn't just a prank, it was a game. And we were the pawns. I wanted to confront Ethan, to tell him everything. But fear stopped me. What if he hated me? What if he thought none of it was real? That night, I made a choice. I transferred the $5,000 back to the anonymous account, with a message: I'm out. Keep your money. The next day, I sat Ethan down. My hands shook as I told him about the text, the bet, the money I'd sent back. His face went pale, then hard, and for a moment, I thought I'd lost him. You did this for money? He asked, voice low and dangerous. No, I said, tears burning my eyes. I did it because I was desperate. But I fell for you. Ethan. That's real. That's all that's real now. He stood, pacing, hands in his hair. I don't know how to trust this, he said, voice cracking. I don't know how to trust me. I stepped closer, heart pounding. Then let me show you, I said. No bets, no lies. Just us. He looked at me, eyes searching, and then he was kissing me, fierce and raw, like he was claiming something he'd been too scared to want. We didn't fix everything that day. Ethan still wrestled with his past, his family, the weight of who he'd been. But we faced it together, messy, honest, real. One night, under that same street lamp from my sketches, he pulled me close, his lips brushing my ear. I'm begging for kisses now, he teased, voice warm with a smile. I laughed, heart full, and kissed him until the world faded away. The money was gone, but I'd gained something better, a love that started as a game but became my truth. And in Ethan's arms, I found what I'd been chasing all along, a place to belong.